So we are now in step 17, the stack selection. So if we select the stack selection XAMPP, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, we are going to install right now an important tool in order to start working with PHP and MySQL. And depending from where you are watching this, in which platform, you're either gonna get a sample of it, or if you are in full bootcamp, well, as the word says, you will actually get a full bootcamp, because now we are in step 17 and we have done all these steps in our roadmap to becoming a front-end developer. And remember, from step 11, this is where you chose which road path you wanted to go, if it's the front end, the back end, or the full stack. In this case, we are in the front end, which it's about similar until step 14. Here is the full stack roadmap. So we are in step 17. This is for those that are taking the full stack roadmap, and this is the roadmap for front-end developers on how to become a front-end job ready developer. So we are in the step 17, and here we're gonna start installing a very important tool that we need in order to start working with this XAMPP stack, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So let's dive into it right away. So let's go, and we're gonna install a program called XAMPP. And then we are going to download it over here. Click on download, and you're gonna look for the version you want. In this case, we're gonna be using it for Windows. So the XAMPP version for Windows, this is the version I'm going to select, which is the 64-bit. And we're going to save it here on the downloads. You're gonna save it. As you can see over here, it's downloading. So it looks like the downloaded is completed. It's done. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna double click on it, and Windows is gonna ask us, do you wanna make some changes to your device? We're going to say yes, and XAMPP will start installing. Because an activated user account in our system, some functions of XAMPP are possible restricted. Okay, we're gonna say yes, and next, and it will install right here. As you can see, I already had it installed. So it's telling me that I already have this folder. So what I will do first, this is not necessary for you, because if it's the first time you're installing, you won't have this message. I will need to delete the XAMPP folder. Okay, so I deleted the XAMPP folder. If I go back and now say next, it should work. So this is what you should see. Next. Next, setup is now ready, begin, and the XAMPP program will start installing Apache, MySQL, PHP, and Perl. In our case, we're only going to be working with MySQL and PHP. We're not going to be working with Perl. So give it 2-3 minutes and this should install. I will be back once it's done. Okay, at this point, it's completing the XAMPP setup. Do you want to start the control panel now? Yes, leave it there like this, checked. Let's finish. And now, as you can see, we have the control panel. This is all the things that are included with the XAMPP. The modules are Apache, MySQL, FileZilla, Mercury, Tomcat. Those are different servers, and FileZilla also, it's a program usually we use to upload files with FTP to hosting. If you have some hosting, we might be using it later on in this course. So for the moment, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go into the file config over here. We're gonna open config, and it's telling us which editor you want. Notepad, it's okay for the moment, and auto start modules is if you want, when you open XAMPP, if you want things to be automatically on, you can have them on automatically, so you don't need to start them. So let's check Apache, MySQL for the moment. Those are the one we want. And then you can configure a language if you speak another language. And let's go and save this for the moment. And I think we need to open this with administrators right, so hold on. I'm gonna close this, and so what we're gonna do is type here on the search XAMPP, and then it says control panel XAMPP, and what you want to select is run as administrator. And now let's try again into the config file. Let's press this and save. So now it's gonna allow us to save, so it's going to automatically start those two, Apache and MySQL. And another thing we can configure also, it would be the ports. Apache, we don't want to have it on the main port. 80 port is the main port for the internet, so let's change this to 80. For MySQL is 3306. You can leave it as default, and then we press on save. So those are the main things that we need to configure. All right, so we're gonna close it. Now let's open it again, run as administrator. Yes, and as you can see now, this is green, which means it's on. This one is green also. And now what we're gonna test and see if this is working or not, what we can do is go here. Let's open a browser, and we're gonna do localhost like this, 8080. You press enter. Let me see if the 80 is working. Actually, it's still on the port 80. I don't like to have it on the port 80. So let's go back here. It seems that it did not. You see the port is still 80 over here. I don't like to have it on the port 80. So let's go back. I don't know what happened here. I'm not sure why it did not. You see, I said that I wanted the main port to be. I'm gonna save it and see save. So let's try the config file here, the httpd config, and see if we can do it from here, because it says listen to 8080. Okay, let me go down and see server localhost 8080, and let's save it. Okay, so the server name 8080, and then I want him to listen to 8080. So hopefully, let's stop it and start it. So now there you go. So we have changed the ports. You have it here, 8080. For some reason, when I did it on the config over here, it didn't work. So you can do it by clicking here, config, and then doing here, HTTP. And you might need to do it also on here, on the SSL, if you're gonna be using later on SSL. For the moment, I don't think it's necessary, because if ever we're gonna be actually using a hosting, so this is just for developing purposes in order to start learning PHP. So as you can see, we have already many things going on. The MySQL is on, Apache is on, the port is correct, and now we can start working with PHP using XAMPP. So what we're gonna do, once again, we're gonna go back and let's open a new tab, and let's do localhost All this is appearing because I had it installed before, so I had to uninstall it and reinstall it so I can create this for you guys. As you can see, this is we have it over here on the top, localhost 2 dots to specify the port that we are on right now, 8080, because we changed it on the config file. Dashboard, this is the dashboard for XAMPP, and it's telling you that everything is ready to work. If you want to know where is PHP admin for databases and MySQL, it's right here, and then you will have access to the database with the PHP admin. This is MySQL database, and we will be able to create databases. We're gonna learn that later on. And let's go back. If I go like this, let's go back, and PHP info, this is just running a function, the PHP function, PHP info function, which tells you which is the version of PHP that we're using, the system, and all nice information that you can see from here. All right, so our PHP is ready to go. So now, where do we put all the files if we want to start creating? So go back over here on your file explorer, and now you should have a folder called XAMPP right here. So click on it, and then you're gonna have a bunch of folders, and as you can see, you'll have this folder called htdocs, the documents. This is where we're going to be putting everything. So you should have it as so. You want to see what's on the index, so you have here some functions on the loop and things like that. Okay, we're gonna work on that. As you can see, I have it linked to my Visual Studio. So if you don't know how to install Visual Studio, go back in one of my videos and you will see how to install Visual Studio to start coding. And what else can we see here? Okay, so it should be like that. Now I'm gonna bring back, because I had many files prior to uninstalling XAMPP. I had many files, so I'm gonna bring them back to I'm gonna just copy all of them, copy, and I'll bring them back to my XAMPP htdocs, because I uninstalled it before and I want to get back my files. Okay, perfect. So this is things that I've been working with, especially my website that I was working, and some other JavaScript courses and things like that, some tests, and this is my daily routines and things like that. Anyways, this is how you install XAMPP. So XAMPP is ready to go. So if we want to start coding, the way we do, we can open from here. If I do, this is the website, so I'm not gonna go there. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna do Shift on my keyboard and then right click, and you will see PowerShell here. We'll open PowerShell over here. That's the way I like to open my files. Then I'm going to type code dot like this, enter, and that's gonna bring my Visual Code. Once again, you can watch one of my videos where I show you how to install this. And what I'll do, just for fun, I'm going to create a folder, and let's call this folder PHP course, like this. Just a folder, so there's no extension. And now inside that folder, let's create our first PHP file, and let's call it index.php. Okay, index is usually the first file whenever you create a folder and then you want to start coding. It's usually the name index. referring as the main file. Okay, so index, and so let me make sure I have it right here with the right keyboard. And what we're gonna do, that's how you open the PHP tag to say that we are coding on PHP, like this. And then we can say, let's start with an echo. Okay, and our usual hello world, and you put semicolons at the end, like that. If you save this, okay, so what we're gonna do, go back to your browser. Okay, so now in our browser, the way we're gonna access this file, there are many ways, but one of the ways, if you go back here on your document, if we refresh this, okay, you can see the folder that we created earlier, PHP course. This is the folder I created on the Visual Studio Code. So now I'm gonna open it, and now you can see the PHP is right there. So I can open it from here just by clicking on it or double clicking. You can see it's the same, it's our PHP. But if we want to run this, which means if we want to see, this is the code, but if we want to see what's actually the display of this on the browser, what you need to do, let's go back here on your browser and remember the name of the folder, which is PHP course, right? If I click on it, okay, it's gonna say that there's nothing, so it means I need to specify more things. I want to get to the index PHP. Actually, it's not dashboard. We have to remove the dashboard because we are not in the dashboard folder. We are actually on the PHP folder, index PHP. As you can see, then we have our hello world. So this is the display from the code that you see over here. If we put something else here, full boot camp, and Control S to save it, and if I refresh here, it will refresh. Okay, so this is the introduction to XAMPP and PHP, and stay tuned so we can continue this full bootcamp course on PHP and MySQL. So let's recap this video real quick. So you need to install XAMPP, you download it over here, then you open XAMPP control panel, and then you change the port. Make sure over here it appears 8080, not 80. You can do it by going to this file and changing the server, the listen over here, and a little lower over here you can also change the server name, localhost 8080. That's one way to do it. You can try, maybe it works in your side. On my side it did not work. You make sure you select Apache, MySQL. You can change the port over here and put 8080 and then save. In my case it didn't work even after I restarted for some reason, but you can do it with the config file. Once this is done, then what you need to do, go into the docs, XAMPP docs folder, and this is where you're gonna put all your folders and files. Once you're here, shift on your keyboard, right click, and then you open PowerShell code dot to open Visual Code, and then from here you can create folders and files, and we created the first Echo Full Bootcamp. Then you go to the browser and then you have it. So this was a recap. If you like this video, the full course will be available on fullbootcamp.org.